Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynett and it's the tourism channel where we talk about tourism, travel, all those amazing things. So in this video, we're going to be having an exclusive sit-down interview with Mr. Thomas Price, of the director of the CTC Conservation Center. If you've not watched the first video of the CTC Conservation Center, where I was with Oli Olive and we were with the lions and the savage cats, pause this video, fast run and check it out. Otherwise, if it's your first time on my channel and you like this content, give it a like, a thumbs up, call your friends to check out this video, leave a comment, let me know what you think about wildlife conservation. Otherwise, let's dive right in. Let me talk to Mr. Thomas as he shares with us his conservation journey and what he looks forward to with the tourism industry in Uganda. Bye. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for coming to my channel. And I would like you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay. My name is Thomas Price. I'm the director of CTC Conservation Center.
Yeah. Thomas, as we were having a chat, you told me you were first in Uganda in 1994.
Yes.
And for someone who has been in Uganda for that long, what would you like to see grow or change for the tourism industry moving forward?
Well, I think the tourism industry is a highly competitive market, and we need to not only look at Uganda, but look what's happening outside of Uganda in order to be competitive. And if you look at Dubai or places like Mauritius, South Africa, Zambia, Kenya, Tanzania as well, in terms of potential for safaris, you will realize that we're in a very, very highly competitive market. Now, the one good advantage we have here is we have the gorillas. If we wouldn't have the gorillas, we would have a problem, because if we're very honest to ourselves, competitively, just for safaris, our neighboring countries are a bit ahead of us. So therefore, I think what we need to do is create more potential, more opportunities for tourists, more things to see for tourists in order to be more competitive, and not just rely on riding an old horse, which I would say in this scenario, hoping that it will just continue going and continue going. But I think we really have to be competitive and create more opportunities and possibilities for tourists to be attracted to Uganda.
Okay. Mr. Price, for someone who has traveled all over the world, you've been to over 10 countries.
Much more than that, yeah.
Yeah, over 10 countries. Why did you decide Uganda to be your hub of this amazing project?
Well, the main reason is for family reasons. I'm married here. I have my daughter here, who's now already a grown-up, actually, since I came here a long time ago. But in terms of the project, it's the climate, because as I mentioned earlier, we're very lucky here in Uganda that the climate is virtually perfect. It's never too hot. We don't have a serious dry season. We don't have frost. It's never too cold. So it's a very manageable climate, which can be, with just some slight manipulation, adapted to species from around the world. I mean, you can keep any animal here, whether it's a kangaroo from Australia or an animal from South America. Pretty much anything can thrive here because our climate here is just optimal.
Okay, thank you. What unique plan or what unique aspect in the wildlife world do you want to showcase at CTC Conservation Center?
I think generally we want to showcase and have people connect with animals which are misunderstood, but also rarely seen in nature. Misunderstood, that would be in the case of snakes, hyenas, things like that, where if one visits here and spends some time with animals, one will realize that, for example, the hyenas are not the savage beasts one always hears about, but that they actually are very harmonious and can be quite emotional and actually are very interesting creatures, like any other animal as well. And the same with snakes as well. People fear snakes a lot and think snakes are so dangerous and will attack people. Snakes on their own are actually not dangerous. It's mostly people who try to kill a snake who get bitten by a snake. But the snake itself will normally just move away on its own. So I would hope to be able to have people come here and learn and get an impression about that some of the animals which they misperceived as savage beasts actually are not what they think they are.
Yeah, Mr. Price, for longevity, after this project has thrived, what would you like to be remembered for in relation to the CTC conservation center?
For setting a precedent in the industry, and also as a good example for other zoos and other institutions in Uganda to follow. So I would say as a stepping stone for others to follow.
That's a beautiful one. And as you're soon opening the facility, you're going to be having families, students, groups coming here. What experience would you like them to live with after they have been to the conservation center? What feeling, what experience would you like them to go home with?
Generally with a wow effect, sort of, that they come in here and leave when they're like, wow, that was quite something. And especially the animals, more the connection to the animals, where they go out leaving with a different impression of the animals than they had when they came in, as I mentioned, like with the hyenas or snakes, where they come in thinking like, those animals, is it really worth seeing them? But when they leave, they're like, wow, those animals actually are really interesting. So that's the main thing. I would like people to leave here with more understanding for the animals they've seen.
Thank you very much, sir. Lastly, just for my viewers, we're just wondering, when can people come? When should people start flocking here? Because people are going to see these amazing videos. They're going to meet all these animals. I'm going to wonder, I want to go there. How do I go there? How much? Where? When? All those questions.
It's hard to give you exact answers on those because our initial plan was to open early this year, but then COVID happened and everything got delayed everywhere with everyone, not only us. So it's a little bit tricky because tourism is just slowly, hopefully, starting to pick up maybe in July this year.
Yeah.
So we were trying to aim for July this year. But we're still doing a lot of expansions. We're fencing off 9 acres for the zebras and the impalas and things like that, which we will be adding, by next month, hopefully. So it all a little bit depends on that. Then we're building accommodation. We're putting up a small restaurant, of course. Yeah. So it would be premature to open before those things are ready because we wouldn't want people to come when it's not fully ready and then be disappointed. So we would say rather have a little bit of patience and then really enjoy the place than open prematurely. So hopefully, if things go very well, by July, but it could be anywhere towards the end of the year as well. Yes.
Okay. So where should people find you? You as Mr. Price and also as CTC Conservation Center, if someone wants to follow, keep updated.
Well, we have our page on Facebook, CTC Conservation Center. If you type that in, you will find it immediately. Then our website is wildlife.ug as well as safari.ug. So those websites are still being worked on. We're still updating them and trying to also put an online reservation system where people can go online, get an impression of which animals we have and see some small videos of interactions and things like that. And then can also book their appointment to come here. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Most welcome. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay. His name is Betis nasicornis. Yes. They're fairly common throughout Uganda and Congo and throughout Central Africa and the rainforests in general. But they're getting rarer and rarer because they get pretty big and people do kill them whenever they see them. Yeah. So outside of protected areas, they've actually become quite rare. So we have this female, which was gravid. She gave birth to 51 babies just last month.
Wow.
Which we will show you in a minute as well. And 51, which is actually a record. So far, it was only known that they can give birth up to about 38 or 39. So 51 was a new record, actually.
Was it because it was in captivity?
We're not sure, because though she got gravid here, we've had her for quite a few months. So it could be maybe the feeding, that she gets excess food here, and that's why she produced more, whereas in nature, they would produce less because they rarely eat. So yeah, possibly that is the reason. We're not sure really, because there's very little studies been done on these snakes in nature. So we're not sure if in nature they actually can have such big clutches or not.
Okay. So in the world, if you saw two males and female, what would be the most distinctive factor about the male and female rhinoceros snake?
It's actually very hard to tell by color or anything, because they are virtually exactly the same, also by size. The only difference is the length of the tail. Females have a short tail, as you can see in this one. The tail is quite short. The male's tail would be about twice as long, starting from here. That's where the tail starts. So from here, going this way. She's going for shade because it's getting a bit warm. I'll just take her one more time, and then we'll let her go for shade. And you can see she's puffing.
Yes.
Though she's not a puff adder, but all bigger beetus species, which are the vipers, or like the puff adders, they have that capability. There are 3 species of beetus in Uganda.
Yes.
One is the puff adder, which we also have here. One is the gaboon viper, and one is the rhino viper, which is this one here now. So all three of these, they have that ability to puff when they feel threatened, as a warning sign, so that they don't end up just biting randomly, but they give someone a warning first before they will bite.
Thank you. It's very beautiful.
Yeah. Colorful. But they generally will not bite unless you really end up stepping on them or something.
Oh, for defense, really?
Just, because even then they're not eager in biting anything unnecessarily, because every time they bite they inject venom, and then it takes time for that venom again to reproduce, let's say. Yeah. So they also have no reason to waste their venom if it's not necessary. So snakes don't attack people, it's only in defense. It's mostly people who get bitten are normally people who try to kill the snake. Like they find a snake in their compound and now they're there with a panga following it, just slapping it, then they get bitten. Yet if they would have just left it, it would have just moved away by itself. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we were told about black stone as something people use in case a snake has bitten them or something.
Absolutely ineffective. Black stone, it's pretty much as if you would hold a piece of charcoal on a wound. It will stick there because it absorbs water.
It absorbs water, not the venom.
I know. Venom in that case. I'm just saying as an example, even if you put a drop of water and you put a piece of charcoal, it will stick there. And so it is with the black stone. If you have an open wound and there's some small blood coming out, you put it there, it will stick there. But even if you would use a real suction pump and really suck, you cannot suck out the venom because your blood moves continuously. There's a lot of pressure. Your heart is pumping and your blood is moving. The moment it bites you, that venom is moving already, instantly. You cannot suck it back out.
So what's the first aid if you've been bitten by a snake in the wild?
The first aid is to stay calm, generally, which is normally difficult because people panic. But when you panic, your blood runs even faster and then the venom starts spreading more and more. Yes. So the best advice is to keep calm. Let the person not run or walk very far. Maybe walk with him slowly, or if necessary, carry him to a car and drive him to a hospital where he can get anti-venom. Now in Uganda, most hospitals know where to get anti-venom. There's a few importers. I think Joint Medical Supply imports anti-venom for most of the snakes here. So the first response, I would say, is bring the person to the hospital as fast as possible. Okay.
So anti-venom, every snake has a particular anti-venom that works for it.
There are some, they call them polyvalent anti-venoms, which cover most of the more common venomous snakes. So in this case, you would go for a polyvalent venom, not a specific one, which covers, there's one for different groups. There's one which covers cobras, and then there's one which covers mambas and vipers and things like that. So in Uganda, I think at the moment it's the polyvalent ones which are there. They don't have the specific ones, but they work fairly well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Most welcome.
I think we can take her back because of the heat.
Yep. Okay. So this is the Fiji Crested Iguana. It's a critically endangered species. They originate from the Pacific Ocean, from the Fiji Islands, which is behind Australia. They have become locally extinct on many islands where they used to be, like on the main islands of Fiji. They're completely extinct. They still occur on some very small offshore islets. Some of them have gone extinct there too. There's at the moment, I think, only a handful of little islets where they're known to still occur, with populations on average between like 30 and 200 animals per island remaining. There's just one main island with a strong population of about 15,000 animals, which is called Yaduataba. But other than that, they're on the brink of extinction, critically endangered. As endangered as actually more endangered than our mountain gorillas these days are. Because mountain gorillas no longer are critically endangered, they're just endangered. These ones here still are critically endangered. So I used to keep these in Europe for quite some time, as my personal pets, one would say here, but there are many hobbyists who keep animals as these, not really as pets as you would keep a cat or a dog, but more also for the purpose of having them reproduce and contributing to the conservation of the species a little bit. But mostly also out of passion, the same way people would keep fish in an aquarium, people keep reptiles in Europe as well, fairly commonly. So when I decided to permanently move here, I brought my iguanas with me. I had to apply for all their permits, which was quite a long process, but happily everything went through. And they're doing very well here, because the climate here is very similar to Fiji. It's also a tropical country. So they've been doing well, and they've actually been reproducing here fairly well as well. which we're very happy with, because there are very few institutions in the whole world who are actually breeding these species or have offspring for these species. So we consider ourselves very lucky to have them here. We're currently the only country in Africa which has this species. There are some in a zoo in Japan, and there are of course some in Switzerland still, that's where I used to live. And there's some in Canada and in the European Union, but it's like a handful of facilities who have them worldwide.
Around the world.
So they're still very, very rare, even in captivity. And like I said, in nature, they're becoming less and less and less.
Yeah, so that's one of the special breeds that you have around the CTC Conservation Center.
Well, special breeds as such, what we want to do is with CTC, we want to have species which you don't see in most other zoos. And that doesn't mean that they have to be specifically rare in nature, but maybe not commonly seen, like with the bat-eared foxes. Bat-eared foxes are not endangered or anything, they're common, but you will not see them in any zoo here, and you will not see them in the national parks either. So for us, I think it's very nice to be able to show animals to people here, which they will not have the opportunity to see elsewhere.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Most welcome. And one thing to note also about them, they're vegetarian. They eat greens and fruits. They have no venom, no poison, and nothing dangerous to them. And that's actually the reason why they're going extinct, because they have no way of defending themselves. As you see, it's just sitting there. And on the Fiji Islands, naturally, there never were any rats or predators, no mongoose, no cats, nothing. So they were reproducing and doing fairly well, because nothing was predating on them except for 1 or 2 species of birds. But now as humans came, rats came with the humans on the boats. They actually introduced mongoose, because they're growing sugarcane there, and they had a rat problem. So now they brought the mongoose to eat the rats. Now it's the rats and the mongoose eating the iguanas. Then of course people brought cats as well. So that's the main reason why they're going extinct. That's why they would have no potential of surviving in nature anywhere on the mainland, anywhere in the world where there's predators. And that's why they're so critically endangered. And that's why we're happy that we're having a few offspring here, and that they're doing very well here.
Wow. Wow.
Very vulnerable, yes, to predators especially. And even a small predator like a rat will overpower him and eat him, just chew around him, because he cannot protect himself.
Yes, he has no...
Yeah.
Bam. Well day.
If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and check out my other videos just in the link below, or pause this and go to my YouTube channel. I have so many videos about wildlife, about tourism, about travel. So otherwise, enjoy this video, and ciao!